Good morning, everyone. We're going to kind of flip the script a little bit this morning. I'm going to start off by giving you the opportunity to ask any questions you may have about things going on, and then I have a laundry list of things that I can kind of fill you in on in regard to what's going on at the school. Anything going on right now that people will have questions about at the school? Anything at all? Go ahead.
I wanted to wait because this is probably a low priority now. Do you know yet what Stumptown's going to do? Have you started hearing anything about?
The question is about Stumptown Road, new elementary school, right down from St. Mark's, right on the turnabout. I don't know if you've been down in that area. It's going to be a school that looks very similar to Long Creek Elementary School. If you've been to their new school off of Beatty's Ford, it's a two-story building. Right now, we are not impacted by it at all. The initial boundaries are online right now. Now that could always change, but as of what Rhonda Lennon has told us at this point, they are not touching the boundaries for any schools in our particular area. So it looks like the only school that is going to be impacted by Stumptown is going to be Torrance Creek. Now they haven't. I don't think they've decided particularly what neighborhoods, and I think that will be a controversial discussion probably. In regard to what neighborhoods will go to the new school, but it's going to slice Torrance Creek in half, and I think they'll be in the range of 750, if I'm not mistaken, when I've talked to Mr. Schultz, who's the principal, and both those schools will then be allowed to be in the building, which is for the first time Torrance Creek's been in the building, I think, since it opened. Their numbers have dipped a little bit this year, but they're still slightly larger than we are as a school. So once that school is built, the mobiles will probably be, they don't typically move them off the campus, but they usually lock them down. So that is, right now we're not impacted by it. Yeah, so that is a good question. Anything else? Anybody watch the board meeting last night? I don't get cable, so I don't get to, but there were some changes in regard to the organizational structure of our system. Nothing that will impact parents per se, but they did look at the responsiveness of our HR program. So we have a new person that's leading that, and they did move some folks around. The only other thing they did talk about that does impact parents and teachers was a survey that Dr. Morrison did. And I think you'll have access to that on the website. I haven't gone on and looked. They just sent us copies of it yesterday afternoon before the board meeting. But the focus of it was obviously when a new superintendent comes in, they focus a great deal on listening to not only the community but also to the teachers to find out what their concerns are. Based on the feedback I heard on the news this morning, since I haven't had a chance to take a look at the survey, was not ultra positive in regard to how teachers feel in regard to the system. I think teachers want, as most employees do, more flexibility and the less burden of what's going on in education right now. I'm not sure if that's going to actually happen or not, but Dr. Morrison did give feedback on that. They did a national survey on that. So I know that the feedback based on the news this morning was not fantastic, but it is feedback and it is a way that they can hopefully make some changes. I know one thing that he has been focused on, though I haven't had the opportunity to really talk to him one-on-one, is this more responsiveness in regard to what teachers' needs are and focusing more on the teacher, but we'll see how that comes to fruition at this particular moment. Beyond that, there were no real changes in the board meeting last night. I do know that 3 schools received $50,000 from Cam Newton's foundation. I think it was Bradley Middle School, which is up in our area, Randolph Middle School, which is down in Cotswold, and Thomasboro Elementary School were the 3 schools that were chosen. I'm not sure how they were chosen or what the rationale, but I know he did do press events at all 3 of those schools yesterday, as I know a few of the principals. So that's pretty exciting for those schools. But other than that, there hasn't been really anything pressing at the system level from that regard. Other things that have been going on here at the school, we had our book fair recently. It went really, really well. The parent night was very nice. We ended up having good weather again. We had a good turnout. And overall, it looks like we actually exceeded our expectations in regard to it as a fundraiser, though that's not the most important part of it. It's really getting kids to buy books. But it was a good event. I think everybody had a good time, and it was well worthwhile. We also had a kickball game recently, though I didn't get to participate in it. which is probably why we lost, but but we did take a beating from what I'm told from Mr. Higgins, and I did have to wear PJs, and Mr. Otalski took one for the team and wore them with me. So Friday of last week we wore PJs for the first time in 20 years. It's the first time I've worn anything other than suit pants to work, but it was an interesting experience, and the feedback was intriguing as well. So that was a fun event. It's something that we like to do for the community. The turnout again was exceptional. The weather was perfect. It was really a nice thing for parents to come out and do, and the ladies that ran it for the PTO did a fantastic job of getting that organized in really short term, so we were very pleased by that as well. Other things going on, we do have a new teacher in 2nd grade due to our numbers, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this last time or not. Our numbers were at capacity in 2nd grade, so we had to go through the process of getting a new teacher. I didn't get to select Ms. Davis myself. Basically what happens, just so parents are aware, is that at the 20th day of school, everybody in the system reevaluates your numbers. And basically we were over our projected numbers. And they then start to shift staff members across the system. So some schools do not meet their expectations, other schools are exceeding their expectations, and they basically look at the last hire at different schools and they have to shift people around. So we did receive a new teacher from, my mind just went blank. University Meadows Elementary School. Her name's Miss Davis. So she joined our staff. The way we chose the people, it's a very complicated process because there's a lot of people impacted, and we really didn't get the process started until after 30 days. So I decided to wait until the quarter to make the change, but we did notify parents in advance. And what we did is really use a random process, and it's exactly the same way we've done it in the past. I'd look at any student that has special needs and special requirements, and I left those children stay put because I didn't want to add another transition to them. But I basically used a randomizer to select numbers, and I took 2 children from every class. The only children that we did not impact were, for instance, we had a few students that would have had, due to maternity leaves over multiple years, this would have been their fifth teacher in 2 years. So I held them harmless because if you had a maternity leave and a regular teacher last year, a maternity leave, a regular teacher this year, and then move, you would have been in those positions. So I did have 2 people in that boat, so I held them harmless. We kept the class size smaller, so we moved about 16 students. Obviously not everyone was happy about that. It's not the best time to do it. It's not a great situation at all. I looked at other opportunities and other suggestions in regard to how to support the classes without creating a class, but our numbers got to the point where I had to make the move. So it was an unfortunate situation, but it is one we have to do. This is the second time we've had to do it, I think, in 3 years, and it has actually happened in 2nd grade both times. Just to kind of give some more background on that, in about March of every year they give us projections. Their statistical analysis of where they think our grade levels are going to be. And then I put teachers in those in those grade levels based upon these projected numbers. Well, some grade levels meet that mark and are right around where they're supposed to be. Other grade levels supersede that number, and that's what happened in 2nd grade. So if I would have been aware that our numbers would have been what they're at in 2nd grade right now, I would have been able to better prepare for that, but it's an inexact science. So that's kind of the process that they use for that. We also are going to be losing one of our very valuable staff members at the end of the month. Miss Jill Thompson, who's our math science facilitator. She is actually moving into our technology department. She's hired as one of the, I think, 4 or 5 people that are going to work with the entire school system in regard to integrating technology into our schools. The downside of that, obviously, is she was a major player in how we were integrating our technology in our schools, so I knew the value that she had. From a personal level, it was absolutely the right choice for our school system. She is invaluable for our system. So we're excited, yet also sad at the same time. So I will not be filling that position until the summer, but Jill will be leaving us at the end of the month in regard to her job. And like I said, she was a math science facilitator, so she worked with collaborating with teachers, lesson plans, but she also played a huge role in our iPad rollout, configuration, all the things we're dealing with that, so we've had to shift some responsibilities, and Mr. Otalski and I are going to have to learn a little bit more about some of the products that we kind of have kept out of in the past. So that'll be an interesting transition. Kind of segueing in with that, our BYOT, or Bring Your Own Technology, in 5th grade has kicked off. It was pretty smooth. The 5th grade was already set up for the process. We are at right now, though we haven't done a true concrete survey, we're having about 8 or 9 devices brought into classes per class, plus the 10 that we have in every classroom. We have 10 iPads in every class. So the turnout has been good so far. Students are only allowed to use those devices when teachers need them to use those devices. So there's going to be sometimes that they're going to have access and sometimes they will not. We are also in the process right now of getting the rest of the building prepared for that process. We were down briefly on one of the teacher work days, not on the November work day, but the October work day. Our internet was down for a while where they were getting us wired up. They also have to add more access points. You'll look throughout the building, you'll see these little hubs that are hanging in the ceilings. Basically, that's what allows wireless access to so many devices. Right now, we're set up for very few devices to be on wireless. So what would happen is, to give you an example, we had a staff meeting on November 6th? Yeah, November 6th, and we wanted our teachers to bring their iPads with them to pull something from the internet, and they end up kicking each other out, so because you're only allowed 30 devices per hub. So that is something they're getting ready to fix now. So they're going to be coming back into our building, and almost every single classroom in our school is going to have a hub, which is going to allow, when we start to integrate into the building, all of our students to have access when we're ready to do that. And that's coming, actually they'll start Friday. Over a period of the next 2 to 3 weeks, they'll be wiring us up. That doesn't mean our kids are going to be starting BYOT in the next 2 months. We're going to slowly and methodically bring it in, but right now, that's what they're setting up right now, is the infrastructure to make sure we can do that when we're ready to do that. Probably how we're going to do it first, we're going to give teachers access that they can use it in their classrooms, but we won't be using it with children in the building initially. We want to make sure we get all the kinks ironed out with 5th grade first, and then we'll slowly work its way in. So that has been a reality. If you have a child at Bailey, I know they're completely online now because their pilot was school-wide. Ours was only designed for 5th grade to start. So they are going through the processes as well. So if you have a child over there, to my knowledge, right now the feedback has been pretty good in that regard.
They don't
yes.
bring them into the classroom. It's only for 1 day a week for a Thursday.
Oh yeah, like a Friday or something like that?
It's almost like what they use for study hall once a week before. That's where they've started it, before they start integrating it into the classroom.
And if everybody didn't hear what Ms. Kabuka said, and I'm just doing this for the video, but in Bailey right now, they are starting off basically getting their toes wet by a brief block of time once a week. It's almost during a study hall block of time where they're going to allow children to bring those devices then. Obviously, in a middle school level, you also have probably a lot more to deal with in regard to making sure things are secure. So I think that he's going to try to watch that very, very closely. For the most part, we have been pretty successful so far in the first few weeks, but we have had one device taken. We were able to get it back. The child received the consequence for that. It's going to be treated just like any other theft. So we're going to use the Rights and Responsibilities Handbook, but we've also tied in that if a child does take a device or from someone else, they're also going to lose the ability to be on or using technology for a period of time as well. So not only will they get the consequence for the theft, we're also tagging on basically a 2-week ban from technology, even our technology, to show them that they need to be better, more responsible young people in that regard. So I would imagine at the middle school level that's going to be elevated even more in regard to that.
Mr. G,
yes,
question about this.
Go ahead.
Do you know if they're going to do an outside hub for, say, the science area and/or?
It's a great question. We've actually threw it around. Ms. Wachter and I have talked about it in regard to getting involved in a grant. As of right now, it's not part of their plan. Once we get things up and running, though, we may request it and see if we can, or some sort of a repeater to allow it to rebound off. But as of right now, there's not.
How far away can you be?
That I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet. We'll have to kind of play it by ear and see. I don't know.